Congratulations on being newly listed on the CSE. Hi, and welcome to a newly listed clip, but not quite so new. I'm your host, Barrington Miller, the Director of Issuer Engagement, and today, finally, I am here with Jones Soda. Mark Murray, President and CEO, Bob Blair, Chief Marketing Officer from Jones Soda. Gentlemen, welcome. Welcome to the show.
Hey, Barrington, thanks for having us.
Yeah, Barrington, thanks for having us. Excited to be here.
I don't even know where to start because I'm overly excited. Let's talk about the name Jones Soda and where it came from and its origins.
So Jones is actually a Canadian company. It started in Vancouver, Canada by a gentleman called Peter Stoll. So we just celebrated last year our 25-year anniversary, so we're about 26 years old. And so he started the brand up in Canada. And I think they started in, I may have to get back to you on some of the facts here, Barrington. So this is one of those where I can use your help maybe, right? They started in kind of the distribution in the juice business and then decided to get into a kind of a high-end craft soda. I believe the name came about, Bob, do you know exactly the heritage? The name came with there thinking of the most common name.
Exactly. It was about being an everyman brand. It was about letting the brand reflect the photo of the consumer and the fan. So they wanted a generic sounding name. And it's amazing.
I think they looked at Smith and then ended up having to go with Jones. So it's kind of it's almost like, it even makes the brand seem cooler when you hear about, the kind of the way that it started. But, and it's interesting right now, if you think you get on our website, we actually call ourselves the People's Craft Soda. We're very proud of that. And starting in Canada, Canada represents a little bit over 20% of our business. We have a very strong community of fans up in Canada. And so a lot of people still think of us as being a Canadian company, but we did move the headquarters to Seattle, Washington, and that's where our headquarters is today. So,
it's funny that you mentioned that because it's, I guess for the newer consumer, they look at it as a US brand, but it's got that Canadian je ne sais quoi feel to it, and it's extremely relatable. And people are now trying to keep up with the Joneses just to
It's funny because at one time Michigan was our largest market in the country, and if you go into Michigan, we're kind of building it back. The Michigan people think we're a Michigan brand. The Canadian people think they're a Canadian brand, and the people in Seattle think they own the brand. So we love it when everybody wants to adopt us as their own. Kind of tells you the strength of the equity of the brand as it relates across the national level. Yeah.
I guess the obvious question right now is, there's two other brands out there that people are very, very familiar with. One starts with a C, the other one starts with a P. And I don't want to give them any shine on your show, but how do you compete against them? What do you have a special strategy, or do you let the consumer decide? How does that work sort of behind the scenes?
I think that's hilarious, Barrington, because when you said that, I was thinking of those initials, and it actually took me a second, like, who's he talking about? Because our frame of reference in both categories, from mainline soda to our cannabis business, is so interesting and so specific to what we're doing. We have some amazing charts that we contextualize ourselves in the category of soda, where we like to put big soda over here, and you can have your P's and you can have your C's, and big soda is there. When you get to the indie brands, we're the biggest of the indie brands. And then you have a long tail of local players and niche players and things like that. And we love that space. For us to be the biggest indie is an enviable spot to be in, because you can really still do things at a national and international level, but you have the nimbleness that is the envy of those other players. And we can do things with our flavors. We can do things with our label. We can do things with our brand, like making a nootropic soda with Mike Tyson that they couldn't dream of experimenting with. And that makes them, I'm sure, sit around in their boardrooms talking about the Jays. And so, we're perfectly happy with where we sit in the category.
I would have to agree with Bob for a second there. I was trying to piece together who you were talking about. We don't.
Yeah, we don't think
We don't
about that
talk
very
about
much.
it like that.
That is amazing.
I
I love
have to
that.
be really, I have to be really honest. That's why I was a little bit stumped because I know how we position.
I'm like
ourselves.
P's and C's.
Yeah.
Yeah, P's
So
and
when
C's, C's
you
and
think about
P's.
that, we consider ourselves in the craft soda category, and it's so much smaller. It's depending on what data you're reading, around 600 million. And you think about Coke and Pepsi being the $30 billion range, right? So it's a real small carve out. And to Bob's point, we're kind of the biggest in that space, and we found our niche, and we continue to grow share through COVID, and even now today. I mean, we measure like ACV, which is kind of like points of distribution. And since I've arrived 2+ years ago, we've doubled our points of distribution. So we're carving out our space. We're relevant to the right community. We're relevant to the right customers. And to Bob's point, I mean, we're tremendously nimble. We come out with special flavors 3 times a year. We'll put a celebrity on the bottle. We'll do all sorts of crazy stuff to stay relevant, including things like turkey and gravy. So we're constantly in the press. We're constantly pushing the envelope, and we carved out this unbelievable niche in the craft soda category that we actually paid for some consumer data that says, what are the things people are looking for in sodas? And it's innovation, it's taste, it's quality, it's all these things, all these attributes. And we won on every one of the attributes except one, and that was a health and wellness play. So it said to us, if you're going to be in the craft soda business, Mr. Customer, you have to have Jones. And it's not us telling you that, it's these consumers telling you that. And here's the proof right here in terms of the data. So boy, it was interesting. I was caught a little off guard because we don't talk about Coke and Pepsi. We know who they are. They're in a whole different area on the shelf and in the retailer and stuff. So.
And they know who you are.
Well,
I'll
they
tell
sure
you
do.
that.
We've been the only reason we know Coke and Pepsi is because people been tagging us on Insta that Mountain Dew's been biting on our space lately. So we've been having some fun poking fun at them back. We notice when they
awesome.
pick up what we're putting down in copy.
Yeah, flattery is a compliment, and we hate when they copy us because they got so much power behind what they do, but we get copied quite a bit on stuff, and I guess
Our consumers love pointing it out to us when they see it, though. Our fans call them out real fast.
Your fans are loyal. Your fans are loyal to the soil.
We love them. We love them.
we love them.
It's great.
That's something that's very important to us, is this community. And since Bob's been here, he's tapping into that community of loyal customers, and what else can we do for them? And we asked them, hey, what are you looking for on flavors, or what can we do in terms of packaging or things like that? And so that community is crazy strong. We use this terminology, it gets overused, that we punch much higher than our weight in terms of our brand and our brand equity. We're much bigger or much smaller than most people think. If you really go out, we're publicly traded, you can find out how big we are, but people think we're a much bigger brand, and that's a real compliment to the marketing group and the team.
You touched on some things that I want to get into earlier. You mentioned Tyson, and you mentioned cannabis, which are things that I guess people that you don't look at as your competition haven't really gotten into and haven't really explored. Let's go down that road and find out what drew you to it and how it's going.
Bob, if I could set you up and then hand it over to Bob, because the journey to the Canadian Stock Exchange and our journey, it really started with our decision to get into cannabis, Barrington, when you think about it. And that started with conversations really early on that said, hey, what we just talked about, how do we leverage this unbelievable brand in the different industries and different channels? That's one. Two, how do we diversify our portfolio? Just being stuck in this craft soda category, whether it's 600 million and growing at 5 kg or whatever it is, we got to diversify this portfolio. That only makes sense. And how do we get into portfolios or channels or industries that have higher growth opportunities and more profit opportunities? So when we looked at that, it was kind of like cannabis. We've been talking about CBD and cannabis and CBD, and it was kind of like, it's time. Let's make a decision to get into cannabis, right? And it checked all those boxes I just talked about. And then obviously we have to have the conversation that says, what's the risk? for Jones and this publicly traded company if they do that. And so as we sat around as a leadership team and a board, it was the risk reward, and we jump into cannabis. When we went into the cannabis business, we immediately needed to get an infusion of cash, because it's, you know, if you're going to build a business from the ground up, you need some money. So we went down, we got the infusion piece on the cash side of it. We got about $13 million, but very specifically, it was to help grow the cannabis business. But in that, we put together the contract that basically said, okay, we're going to earmark this money for cannabis because it's going to take some money to get this thing off the ground. And Bohb's done an amazing job if you look at the portfolio and the progress that we made. There's going to be some things around the board, but what was really exciting to us, and this is where we talked to you about, is we want to get on the Canadian Exchange. Why? Cannabis is legal there. Why? Can we get institutional investors? Why? This just makes sense for our brand. Why? We were really excited about that. That was part of the contract that was carved out that said, you must develop this contract to get on the exchange. And we did that. So that's what kind of led us into the cannabis and having this conversation. The decision becomes, you know, kind of, it makes all the sense in the world. You feel great about it. And then you get on the shelf, and Bohb and I talk about this all the time. You don't sleep until you see the velocity coming off the shelf. And so with that, I'll lob it back over to Bohb, who has developed this portfolio, has watched it become alive, and quite honestly is blown away and exceeding all expectations that we had as an organization, and is literally going to be the rocket ship that takes our company to a next level.
Mark, that's an amazing setup, because what's happening is what we were hoped, is that people are really walking in and seeing a familiar brand they know and they already love, you know, and you have Mary Jones right here, tastes exactly the same as their favorite soda that they already have, right? And so this is just, what a power to see in the store, and what a, you know, opportunity for us. I think one of the things that's interesting is we knew our brand was the right type of brand to go into cannabis. And as we reflected on it more, we saw a second part of the opportunity, which was the power of our flavors. And to date, cannabis has treated flavor like almost like a utility to mask cannabis. Whereas we were like, there's just this bigger crave-worthy opportunity and flavor within cannabis, and our flavors are big and bold enough and loved enough by our fans that we knew that there could actually be a moment of, I want to drink that because it tastes great, as well as I love the effect, not just the flavor covers something I don't like, which to me, as someone who loves both Jones Soda and cannabis, I just thought that there was much bigger opportunity there. There was a third equity that we're bringing to the table, though, that maybe we weren't even expecting, and that's that the maturity of the category to make these types of products, to make carbonated, delicious soda beverages, is really just coming online. There's pockets of capability. And what we've realized is that we're bringing a nimble indie soda mindset to how to make edibles in cannabis. And we're coming and we're enabling capability in a lot of places to make our soda. So now that we're in market, we're seeing people loving the soda. People are just grabbing it. We are the fastest sold in brand in KSS, Kiva Sales and Service, our distributor, in the history of their business in California. We hit over 150 points of distribution in 60 days. We've just been picked up at the pace of a loved brand that people already know, instead of a brand that needs to convince people of anything. And so that has been so heartwarming for us, because it's exactly what we hoped would happen. Yeah. And now we're just out there making as much soda as we can to keep up with the growth and the demand that's happening in California, while we're negotiating our deals to expand into every recreationally legal state.
Exactly. I would say this, Barrington, the 150 points of distribution that Bohb's talking about, that was kind of a controlled roll. I mean, we couldn't make the product fast enough, so we tried.
Could have been more.
We had 50 people that came right out of the woodwork immediately, or Bohb talked to them, and we said, let's take care of these folks. And then they blew through it. Then we were trying to make sure we took care of them without getting too far in front of ourselves, because we didn't want to do a launch that, you know, we were out there, then we weren't on the shelves, and then we're out there, then we're not on the shelf. So to Bohb's point, we're making product as fast as we can, as much as we can, knowing that it has a home and a place and will be pulled off that shelf. So I'll tell you, man, we all launch products in our life. I'm a craft guy and I've launched plenty of things, but when you see the reaction of folks when they try this, they're blown away. And we're getting the exact reaction we wanted. And one of the things that Bob kind of said in there, but a part of our DNA is our quality of our product. And Bob and I early on shook hands that said, we are not going to compromise the quality of this product. We will launch later. We will struggle to get there. We'll do whatever possible. But when this thing launches, it's going to be the best product on the market. And Bob was able to accomplish that.
No, that's amazing. And when I've spoken with companies that are more in the edibles, the ones that have had the most success are the ones that people can relate to, that taste exactly like the non-infused product.
Right.
And it's also for the demographic. Like, say you have your, in your 40s, 50s, 60s, and there's a piece of chocolate, and it's like, oh, I know that chocolate because I've been eating it for the past 20 years. And now it's infused. And it's like, oh wow, it tastes the exact same. That's where you that's the secret sauce, right in there.
Perfectly said, buddy. Perfect.
The category has been talking a lot about extending that same mindset to the format meeting the occasion. And I think that's one of the reasons we're rather bullish on cannabis beverage. If you look at the penetration of cannabis beverage right now compared to, say, beer, it is, a nascent group of households that are consuming this compared to beer. But if you take even a fraction of the household penetration and occasions that recreational beer gets with people who are looking to substitute just a little bit of cannabis into that the growth is astronomical. And so when you think about the type of thing that you could carry into an indoor gathering that you can use where smoking isn't acceptable for a variety of reasons, or where you just want to enjoy a beverage in your hand because that's just such the normal thing to do during so many social occasions, this is the thing that becomes perfect for that. And so it's not just us. I think the cannabis beverage part of the category is super excited about that growth. And whether that happens on premise or in homes, both environments are incredibly exciting.
Yeah, dude, you nailed it. Because when we were at Benzinga, and I'm giving a shout out to to the Benzinga crew, there was a presentation by BDSA, and in, I believe, 2018, 50% of cannabis consumption was flowers. Within this year or within the next 2 years, it had dropped to 35%.
Yeah.
And you and Jones Soda have entered in. It is such a perfect time, your entry into it, and it's only increasing. I think right now in California, beverages account for less than 3% of all products consumed, ingested in cannabis. That's just a little pimple.
It's a teeny little piece, but actually all the formats that we have out, as well as our pipeline of product development, are in the high momentum parts of the category. And that's the thing we love. Our session 10 milligram 4-pack of single serve is in an area that's growing. But we also just, right now our 100 milligram 16 ounce multi-serving product is coming out. And if you look at the data in California edibles, the 100 milligram format is the fastest growing format right now. And we're really excited about having a really amazing tasting product to put in there. And then, if you look across some of the things that'll be coming out soon, we're taking our flavor into more edible tablet formats, different edibles as well, because this flavor extends across the portfolio. And those, again, are areas that are taking share from flower. And we love flower. We partner with flower all the time. We do Joint and a Jones. They go great together. But we're excited about the products we're developing being in that area that's growing so quickly.
I know we're wrapping up, coming up to the top of the hour, bottom of the hour, but two questions. One, talk to us a little bit about Mike Tyson.
What a fun guy. Mark, you want me to take this one?
Well, I'll serve it up for a second. I mean,
Sure.
Because there's another opportunity that came to me. I think even Bob, were you at the front end?
No, it was in place when I got here.
So, I mean, when the opportunity came up to me, the first thing was, boy, I need to understand more, about, mushrooms, psychedelic, what is that? And the Masana Health guys they take this very serious, and they have some really great talent on the team. And they talked me through why this makes sense for health and wellness. And this is an area where there's a lot of focus and a lot of attention. And I thought if Jones could be a delivery agent for that, it kind of made sense. The Mike Tyson piece of it was interesting because, I mean, the guy has 65 million followers, you know, and all of a sudden he wants to do a JV with the folks here at Jones. And so we started having some early conversations about it and developed really a great tasting product, and landed on a couple different flavors. So it's kind of in the portfolio now, and where it goes is still a decision we're going to be making. But Bob, you know, you go ahead and take it in terms of Bob was heavily involved in the development and the packaging and the flavor.
Yeah. You know, first of all, nootropics are super interesting because you get a lot of the benefit of psychedelic mushrooms, but it's a legal derivative of it, and it can be sold anywhere. You don't have to have, you know, some specific license. This isn't some, you know, illicit substance. This is really a drink supplement. And we're seeing a lot of growth in people using it for all sorts of things, from productivity in the office to productivity in the gym. So nootropics is a really fun space. Mike himself has been just an incredible advocate of psychedelic health therapies. And, you know, in this kind of later chapter of his life has just embraced all sorts of new medicines and new things. And he's such an outspoken advocate of it on both his podcast and everybody else's, that just being part of his energy has been really fun and interesting too. And he's, you know, just innovating and showing where sodas can go. And if there's a partner who wants to take it with us into a space like nootropics, heck, let's do it, because Jones can do that, you know. And I think that's more than anything else, that's what's exciting for us, is just to kind of flex where we can go as a brand with someone like him.
Yeah.
Oops, sorry. No, that's awesome. And yeah, he's a character. He's an ambassador. He's not only speaking for it, he's been through it. And and we know, and of course we know the WeSana folks, probably trading on the CSE. Check us out on www.thecse.com. Last question. This is just a fun one. What flavors have you tried, or that you experimented, or that you found that were absolutely disgusting? There's like no way, no how is this going to get the Jones Soda seal of approval?
Well, I hope this means you've already done the turkey and gravy chug challenge.
Oh, no.
Well, right now, anyone who chugs a whole bottle of turkey and gravy soda gets a free t-shirt and shout outs and their video featured on our socials. So I highly suggest you do it and send the video over to us. And then you can tell us if it's better or worse than any other flavors you can think of.
Listen, I just want to say on behalf of the Canadian Securities Exchange, I want to thank both of you. I want to thank Jones Soda for choosing the Canadian, their home destination. And we wish you and the company growth and positivity and all of those wonderful things.
Thank you for having us, and we appreciate the kind words and thoughts there at the end. And we're going to keep moving the company forward for sure. But we appreciate your time.